So let's start today on our backs, on the floor, just finding a comfortable spot on your back, perhaps with the knees bent and the soles of the feet on the ground. I'll just let these two in. And while you're lying there, taking a few soft breaths, maybe a few sighs, just letting yourself settle and relax. Your hands might be on your body, they might be lying down by your side on the ground. You might want to have them up overhead, just wherever feels most natural, most comfortable for you. Taking your attention to your breath. So trying not to change it to start with, just noticing different qualities of your breath. So notice if you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. Maybe you notice the temperature of the air that you breathe in, the temperature of the air that you breathe out. Maybe you can trace a breath all the way in, down into your lungs. Notice how your body moves to create space for that breath in your lungs, and then letting it go all the way out again, seeing how that shifts and changes the shapes in your body. Maybe you notice how focusing on your breath makes you feel. So you rest one hand on your upper chest, on your sternum, and the other hand on your belly, so maybe just below the rib cage, sort of between there and the belly button. And as you breathe, just notice how much movement there is under each of your hands. And then start to draw your breath a little deeper. So aiming to fill up as much of that, of your lungs, your chest as you can. Finding a steady breath. So looking for the inhale and the exhale to last for the same amount of time. Making sure that the breath is controlled, so it's consistent throughout the length. Keeping that pace for the moment, we're going to start to move into a 3-part breath. So as we start to do that, it's almost like you're breathing into your hands, using them as a guide. So the next time you inhale, aim for that bottom hand first. So you're breathing into your belly first, then into the chest, and then filling up the throat. As you exhale, you're going to breathe out from the throat first, chest second, belly last. So into the belly, chest, throat, out, throat, chest, belly, in belly, chest, throat, out, throat, chest, belly. Keeping that going, finding your own rhythm. Trying to spend an equal amount of time in each breath, in each space. You might notice that one area feels sort of stickier or more difficult than the other. But focus on your hands and see how you can go, how you can get on with it. One more round. And then returning to that steady breath, that steady pace. Breathing through the nose if you can. And maybe resting the arms on the ground a little way away from the body to sort of support you. So from here, just going to lift the hips up a little, roll them back down so that the lower part of your back is flat into the ground. Then you're going to float the knees up and the shins up so that you've got a nice 90-degree bend at the knees and the shins are parallel with the ground. And the whole of your back is still pressing down into the mat. So you might need to pull the tummy, the sort of belly button towards the spine and to help you hold on to that. So keeping the knees and the ankles together. On an exhale, we're going to twist and drop the knees over towards the right, just as far as is comfortable while you keep control. And then inhale to bring them back up to center. Exhale to take them to the left. We're going to keep going with this, moving with the breath, keeping that lower back flat in the ground. If this feels like too much work, you can take the toes down to touch the ground, just the tips, and keep doing the same little movement, just with the toes on the ground. And trying to use the full length of the breath for the movement, so it becomes a steady flow. There's no kind of static points. One more on each side. And then coming back to the middle, just resetting, making sure that lower back is still pressing into the ground. Nice bend in the knees. You're going to flex the feet this time. On an exhale, you're going to drop the right heel to the ground, so it just taps the ground. Inhale, comes back up. And then exhale, takes the left heel down to tap. Inhale to come back up. Swapping over with each breath, still holding that tummy in to help press the lower back down into the mat. If you fancy making this a little bit harder, then you can extend the leg a little bit as you drop the heel. And then the more you straighten your leg, the harder it's going to be. However difficult you're making it, make sure that back is still pressing into the ground. Make sure you're still breathing nice and steady, nice full breaths. One more on each side. And then hugging your knees into the chest, make yourself into a really tiny ball. Maybe rock and roll up and down your back if that feels okay. From your hips up to your shoulder blades. And when you're ready, you're going to rock all the way up. So you're sitting cross-legged. Lovely. So you sit up nice and tall, maybe close the eyes for a moment. Just notice how it feels to sit here. If you feel any kind of weirdness in the hips, then it's can be a nice idea to sit on something. So if you've got a cushion or a book or a block or something you can sit on, then grab that. On an inhale, we're going to sweep the arms wide, bring the palms to touch overhead, and exhale, bring the hands down to the heart. Do a few more like that. So inhale, big sweep up to the sky. Exhale, hands back to the heart. Lovely, keeping that going. You can have your eyes closed or maybe open, just softly focused on something. Lovely. On your next inhale, hands are going to sweep up, going to interlace the fingers and press the palms of the hands up towards the sky. So maybe reaching one palm up, one hand up, then the other, stretching out the waist, trying to make yourself as long and as tall as possible. On an exhale, bring the hands to the base of the skull, elbows nice and wide. Nice long spine, nice broad chest. On the next exhale, bring the elbows together and round your back, folding forward. Inhale, lift up, sitting nice and tall, elbows wide again. So exhale to make yourself smaller, nice big curve through the spine. Inhale to straighten out, reaching nice and tall, nice and big. Keeping that going. Last one. Ending up sitting nice and tall, elbows wide. Exhale, take the hands down to the knees. Switch the ankles over. And we do a Sufi grind. So I want you to imagine keeping your hips grounded. Imagine you're drawing a big circle above your hips with your rib cage. So they're going to come hip. Ribs are going to come forward and then round and back. Nice big movement. One more in this direction. And then swapping back the other way. Okay, last one. And coming to sit up nice and tall. Reach the hands behind you. Make a fist interlacing the two fingers on the two hands. You're going to straighten the arms and lift the chest a little bit. It's going to feel a bit of a stretch across the front of the chest. Then on an exhale, you're going to fold forward at the hips. Let the hands come up towards the ceiling. You're just seeing how that feels. Make sure you can still breathe wherever you are. One more breath. And then inhale to lift yourself back up. Reach the hands around, give the wrists a little shaky shake. Nice. So from here, you're going to take the hands forward and find a tabletop position. Lovely. So just taking a moment to get set, to have a little wriggle, and then trying to set up a nice active tabletop. So to make it active, you want to make sure you're pressing through the fingertips so that you're spreading the weight through the hands and pressing the ground away with the hands and the arms so that the ribs kind of lift up into the shoulder blades. If the inside of your elbow has a tendency to pop forward, see if you can bring them to face each other and hold them there. Nice long flat back and a little bit of pressure through the top of each foot just to fire up the bottom half of the body. Nice long neck, couple of breaths here, just holding nice and strong. And then we'll do some cat-cow. So on your next inhale, whenever that comes, drop the belly, look forward, lift the gaze, broad shoulders. So you exhale, arch the back to the sky, dropping the head. Inhale, rolling back through, belly down, looking up and forward. Exhale, arching the back to the sky. Lovely, keeping that going. Maybe closing your eyes if that helps you focus on the movement and how it feels. Again, we're looking to use the full length of the breath to make the movement. There's not really any time spent kind of hanging out in a single shape. Lovely. One more. Coming back to neutral, finding that long back again. Just checking that your knees are underneath your hip joint, so that bony bit at the front, and tucking the toes behind you. On an inhale, you're going to lift the knees and hover, hold here. So drawing the tummy muscles in towards the spine. One more breath. Exhale, knees come back down. We're going to walk the hands forward, keep the hips over the knees. Let the forehead, the chin or the chest sink down to the mat, whichever one reaches. If it's difficult to keep the arms straight, then take the hands further apart from each other. See if that helps. Nice, steady breath. One more. And on an inhale, walk your hands back towards you. Find your tabletop position again with the toes tucked behind you. On an inhale, lifting the knees, holding for 3 breaths. Your count. And bringing the knees down when you're done. Sitting back into child's pose. Maybe the hands reach forward. Maybe you rest the arms alongside your legs. Let them hang heavy. It's up to you, whichever feels better. Maybe you close your eyes, focusing on your breath. So from here, we're going to come up to standing. So you just lift yourself up a little bit, tuck the toes behind you, lift your knees so you're in a bit of a squat. And then you're going to keep your head and arms low as you take your hips up first. So keep a big bend in the knees, find a ragdoll forward fold. So the chest might be resting on your thighs. If there's any sort of tension in the back of the legs, see how it feels. Take a bigger bend in the knees. Maybe step the feet wider. Find a little kind of discomfort in the back of the legs. Trying to stretch out the back of the spine. Let the head hang heavy. Give it a little shake, a little nod. Make sure the neck is nice and loose. And then check in with your face. Notice if you're holding any tension in your face. And just noticing if your tongue or your jaw feel tight, give them a little wiggle, give them a little soften. Last breath down here. And then very gently when you're ready, nice slow roll up to standing. Keeping the knees soft, the chin tucked, back rounded as you roll all the way up. Okay, have a little wriggle, little shake, whatever you need. Nice. And we're going to find a standing position, kind of with your heels, your ankles rather, are underneath that sort of bony bit towards the front of your hips. We're going to do some heel raises with the ankles and the feet, a little bit of something to do. So standing nice and tall to start with. And taking your attention to the soles of your feet. So notice where your weight is distributed through your feet. Is it in your heels? Is it to the outside edge, the inside edge? And then see if you can spread the weight a little bit more evenly. So maybe you find that lifting the toes away and separating them helps you press down through the rest of the foot. So if you can press down through the ball of the foot by the big toe, little toe, and the middle of the heel. And once you've found that, keep the toes sort of spread as you put them back down and press them into the ground. So it's a nice active kind of shape with your feet. So we're going to start from here. On an inhale, we're going to lift the heels. And then on the exhale, lower them back down. So again, trying to move with the breath. Inhaling to lift. And exhaling to lower. Keeping that going. Lovely. One more little pulse. And then this time we're going to inhale to lift up. We're going to hold here. So if the ankle wobbles, see if you can kind of get it stacked. So you're stacking all the bones sort of through your feet, your ankle, your legs on each other. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you can inhale, reach the arms up overhead, make yourself even longer. Maybe start having a little look around or closing your eyes. That can also help challenge your balance a little bit. Taking one more breath. And then as you exhale, lowering the heels back down. This time I'm going to do the opposite. So on an inhale, we're going to lift the toes up towards the face. And then exhale to press the toes down into the ground. Inhale, lifting the toes. Exhale to press them back down. So as you do this, notice if your weight shifts. See if you can keep your weight steady as you're just moving the toes. One more pair. And pressing through the feet, finding that even weight distribution again. Standing nice and tall. And we're going to roll down this time. So as you exhale, chin drops to chest. Let the head be a heavy weight that draws you down into your ragdoll forward fold again. So bent knees, heavy head, nice and soft. Okay, so we can do some little twists here. So as we come into the twists, we're looking to find a little bit more straightness through the legs and the spine. So on an inhale, we're going to lift, straighten the right leg and lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. Then you exhale, come back down to that ragdoll forward fold. Inhale, left leg straightens as the left arm reaches up. Exhale, nice and soft in the middle. Keeping that going. Inhale, right side. Exhale. Inhale, left side. Exhale. One more on each side. Right. Center. Left. Center. Lovely. One breath at the bottom. And then inhale to roll yourself all the way back. Lovely. And you're going to reach the hands behind you, interlace the fingers. You're going to press the hips forward as you straighten the arms. So the hips are going to press forward and the chest is going to lift to the sky. So as you press the hips forward, you should feel the glutes do something. And imagine you're trying to lift your sternum up towards the ceiling. So the front of the body is as long as you can get it, and keep the arms straight behind you. Nice big breaths, making sure you can breathe fully. On an inhale, lift yourself back up. And keep the hands interlinked, take them over to the right side of the waist. Draw the elbows towards each other. And if you've got enough of a stretch here, you can keep the head nice and centered, or you can add on by dropping the right ear down to the right shoulder, or alternatively by looking down to the right shoulder. Still trying to squeeze those elbows towards each other, just finding whichever one feels most beneficial for you in your neck this evening. Nice steady breaths. One more. On an inhale, you're going to find that back bend again. So pressing the hips forward, arms straight, chest lifts. Couple of breaths here, nice and long. On an inhale, lift up, and then hands come over to the left side of the waist. Same again, so elbows squeezing together. Options to keep the head lifted. Look down at your left shoulder lovingly. Drop the ear down towards it. Nice, steady breath. Last breath. And gently going to inhale to lift the head, release the arms, give them a little shake. So from here, we have a little play with pyramid. So starting with the feet parallel, not too far apart, maybe a shoulder width. Standing nice and tall. And then you're going to step the right foot forward. So the feet are both facing the same direction, both pointing forward. Hip, still kind of shoulder width apart. And make sure that both heels can press down into the earth. So still try to press through the feet evenly, even though they're in kind of weird places. Lovely. So if you take your index finger and middle finger to that crease at the front of your hip, the front of the hip joint, so where your thigh bone connects into the hip. Lovely. So you're going to rest your fingers in that space, and as we come into the fold, you're going to try not to squeeze them or squidge them. So with the hips facing forward, you're going to try and keep the back nice and straight as you hinge at the hips and fold forward. So it's up to you how far you come down, no further than halfway, sort of parallel to the ground at the moment. Try and keep the hips in line. So they should be at the same angle roughly as you started off at. Still pressing through both feet, still keeping the back nice and long. If after a couple of breaths you think you might have a bit more space, then you can see about hinging again, trying not to squidge those fingers. So maybe drawing the belly button towards the spine to create a little bit more space at the front. If this is feeling too strong on the back of the front leg, then you can actually shorten your step or lift the chest up a little bit to take that strain out. One more breath. Inhale to lift yourself up nice and tall. Take a breath there. And we're going to step onto the front foot, lift the left knee up to hip height. Lovely. So inhale, this time to sweep the arms up overhead. And on an exhale, we're going to take the hands to prayer as we twist over that left knee, that lifted knee. So you can keep the hands here and facing kind of over your leg. Or you can reach one or both arms out to the side. And if you're still feeling stable, you want a bit more of a challenge, you can switch your gaze so that you're looking over that back shoulder. Nice steady breaths. One more breath. Inhale to bring the arms up overhead as you face front. And then as you exhale, we're going to bring the hands and the feet down to the ground. Have a little shake out, a little wriggle. Lovely. And then reset. So starting with the shoulders above the ankles again. This time we're going to step the left foot forward. So making sure those feet are parallel, facing the same direction. Fingertips in that hip joint, again at the front of the top of the thigh. Making sure the hips are both facing forward as though you were standing with your legs together. Pressing through both feet, nice long chest, and exhale to hinge at the hips. Come down with a flat back. Notice if your hips go for a wander and see if you can correct them. So trying to keep the back straight and the hips in line rather than kind of focusing on how far forward we come, and trying not to squeeze your fingers too much. You might find there's a bit more space after a couple of breaths. Maybe explore how that feels. Keep breathing. Last breath. And then inhale, you're going to lift yourself up. Take a breath out. And then we're going to step forward, right knee comes up to hip height. Arms reach up overhead. Lovely. So we're going to come for that twist again. So on an exhale, hands come to heart, twisting to the right. Same options here. Hands can stay in prayer. One or both can reach out. And then the option to switch your gaze, looking over that back shoulder if you need. If you're feeling really stable and you want to challenge your mind, your balance. Breathing nice and deeply. Last one. On an inhale, face forward, arms reach up overhead. Exhale, hand and foot come down. Little wriggle, little shake out. Lovely stuff. Make your way back to the back of your mat. Feet shoulder width apart, pressing through those feet again, nice and evenly. Starting to find your mountain pose, so hugging everything in towards the center, the midline, making yourself nice and tall, nice and long. Reaching through the hands, fingertips reaching for the air. Nice, steady breath. On an inhale, we're going to sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale, hinge at the hips to come forward into a fold. Inhale, bring the fingertips to your shins, looking up, forward, nice straight back, broad chest. On an exhale, you take the hands down to the mat, walk them forward, and bring the knees down to find a tabletop position. On an inhale, drop the belly, looking up and forward for cow. Exhale, arching the back to the sky for cat. Inhale to come to neutral. And then exhale to tuck the toes, lift the hips, find a downward facing dog. If you're not feeling down dog, you can take a child's pose here instead, whichever feels better in your body. Having any little wriggles that you need, trying to find as much length through your spine, whichever one you're in. So pressing through the fingertips. Steady breath. On an exhale, we're going to bring the knees back down to tabletop. And then we're going to swing ourselves around to sit on our bums. Okay. I'm just going to turn so you get a better view. So let's bring the soles of the feet together. So again, if you felt when we were in sitting cross-legged at the beginning of class, if you felt more comfortable sitting on something, then grab that thing and sit on it again. And then bring the soles of the feet together, heels as close to your hips as you can get them, while you can still sit up nice and tall. So just to help lift the spine, we're going to take the fingertips to the ground behind us, trying not to put any weight through them really. It's just to help us lift the chest and find that breadth, is that the right word? Through the front. And then inhale, you're going to squeeze your big toes into each other. And as you exhale, press the outer edge of the foot down into the ground. So inhale, pressing big toes into each other. Exhale, outer edge of the foot into the ground. One more time. Holding as you press down into the ground. So notice if your back has rounded, you can straighten it up, lift the chest. Nice steady breath. Then we're going to extend the right leg and keep the sole of the left foot on the inside of the thigh. So sitting up nice and tall. If you have space, you can draw that bent knee down towards the ground beneath you. On an inhale, we're going to reach up to the sky, nice and long through the body, just turning the body a little bit so it's pointing towards that extended leg with that flexed foot at the end of it. On an exhale, you're going to hinge at the hips, so try and keep the back straight again, hinging at the hips to come forward. Imagine someone's pulling on your arms so your back, your body's nice and long. You can't come forward any further, you can let the hands come down. So they might reach your foot, they might just rest on your leg or on the mat. Keep looking at your big toe, keep pressing that bent knee towards the earth. Keep drawing the tummy towards the front of the spine to help find length through the front of the body as well. Nice steady breaths. I'm going to turn this into a bit of a twist. So you're going to take your left hand and place it wherever it reaches so that the arm is straight on the outside of your right leg. So it might be by your ankle, might be somewhere along your shin, and just straighten the back again a little bit. Notice if it's rounded. And your right arm is going to reach behind you, follow it with your gaze, and maybe it wraps around behind you to grab the inside of the left hip, or at least tries to. Doesn't matter if it doesn't get that. Nice steady breaths, pressing into that front hand to help you find the twist. Last breath. Inhale to lift yourself up, bringing that foot back in again to your back in Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet together, sitting nice and tall. Your choice this time. You can either press the big toes together or press the outer edge of the foot into the ground, whichever feels better. And hold for 5 breaths. So you're counting your own 5 breaths here. When you're done, we're going to extend the left leg. pressing the right knee down to the ground this time. Left foot nice and flexed. Inhale to sweep the arms up, reaching for the sky, nice long back. Exhale, hinging at the hips. Imagine someone's pulling you forward. When you can't come any further, releasing the hands, letting them find their spot. Gazing lovingly at your big toe. Nice steady breaths. Still squeezing that right knee down if there's space for you to do that. Drawing the belly button towards the front of your spine. And we're going to go for the twist. So the right hand comes to the outside of the left leg, straightening the spine, straightening the arm, and then reaching behind you with the left arm. Maybe you can grab the inside of the right hip, looking behind you. Still pressing firmly into that front hand on the leg. Nice big breath. On an inhale, we're going to release, come round to the front. Going to take the soles of the feet down to the ground here. So we're going to do reverse tabletop. If you have a real hankering to do reverse plank instead, you are absolutely free. So your soles of the feet are down. Hands come down to the mat as well, with the fingertips facing towards you. Then you're going to press down into the feet, and on an inhale, lift the hips up as high as they'll possibly go. So you might come up and realize your feet are too close to you or too far away. So give them a little shuffle. Try and get those hips up as high as you can. If your shoulders feel really weird, then you can just rotate the fingers out again. Find a slightly less weird space. But keep lifting the hips. It's super elegant, this one. One more breath. Exhale, gently lower your bum back down to the ground. Reaching forward between your legs, making yourself into a small C shape through the front of the body. I'm going to try a count of 6 to roll down this time. So when you're ready, keeping the front of the body small as you start to roll down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lovely stuff. Arms come to the ground above your head. Taking the soles of the feet back together and letting the knees drop out to the sides. It's up to you how close your heels are to your body. And if this feels a bit heavy on the inside of your hips, you can pop cushions or bricks or something under the outside of your thighs to take some of the weight of your legs for you. A few more breaths here. And we're going to lie long on the ground. So imagine you're like a giant pencil through the middle of your mat. So nice straight legs, arms reaching up straight along the ground behind you. Lovely. So a few breaths here, and just notice how your body feels in this shape, how your breath moves in this. And we're going to make ourselves into a little bit of a banana shape, get a little bit of a side stretch. So gently shimmy your feet over to the left, trying to keep as much of the back of your leg in contact with the ground as possible. So it's the same sort of contact you have when you're lying straight. And then when you're ready, taking the hands over to the left as well. So same sort of logic, trying to keep both shoulders on the ground, finding a slight banana shape. Taking your attention to your breath. One more breath on this side. And gently make your way back to the middle. So you're a nice long straight pencil again. Couple of breaths here. Running a little body scan, just noticing if you feel any difference between the two sides, the left and the right side of the body. Then when you're ready, taking it to the other side, so shuffling the feet over to the right corner of the mat, and then the hands, over to the right as well. Allowing yourself to be soft and taking your attention back to your breath. One more breath on this side. And shimmying yourself back to the middle. Taking a few breaths here. Noticing how your body feels. And then we're gently going to bend the knees up. Bring the soles of the feet to the mat. And take the feet apart. So if you're in the middle of the mat, try to get them roughly mat width apart. We're going to do a twist before we come to Shavasana. So on an exhale, you're just going to let knees both drop over to the right. The arms can stay overhead if that feels nice. Gives a nice big stretch through the front of the left hip. If you want to bring your hands down to rest on your body or along the ground next to you, that's absolutely fine. Just do what feels best for you. Still bringing that attention to your breath. That control, that steadiness. Last breath on the right. On an inhale, bring the knees up towards the ceiling. And on an exhale, drop them over to the left. Trying to let the legs rest and relax as much as they possibly can. Allowing the body to feel as soft as it can in this shape. So notice if you're holding tension. See if you can let it go a little. And then focusing again on the breath. Last breath. And bringing the knees up to the ceiling, hugging them into the chest. Make yourself into a teeny tiny ball. Pull some silly faces. And then find your way to your savasana. So grabbing any jumpers, blankets, cushions, whatever you need to get comfy. And lying back down, finding your shavasana. Maybe tucking the chin into the chest a little bit just to lengthen out the back of the neck, and then rolling the head back down to the earth. Taking 3 big sighs to let go of all that effort, all the breath control you've been doing. So big, deep breath in through the nose, filling up the lungs as much as you can. And then a big loud sigh out of the mouth, letting everything go. Maybe 1 or 2 more like that. Allowing your body to feel soft, to feel heavy, and to allow yourself to be supported fully by the ground beneath you. Gently starting to take some deeper breaths. Bringing your awareness, your attention back to the body. Noticing the sensation of the air against your skin, of your clothes, the blanket. And then starting to allow a little bit of movement back into the body. Maybe focusing on the jaw a little bit, rocking the lower part of the jaw slowly from one side to the other. Starting to allow the movement in your body to become bigger. Maybe have a big stretch. Whenever you're ready, hugging the knees into your chest. And then rolling over to the left side if there's space. Taking a few soft breaths on your side. Letting the body still be a little bit heavy. And then with the eyes still closed, starting to push yourself up, finding a comfortable seated position, having any last little wriggles that you need. Bringing your hands to rest on your legs in prayer or placing them over your heart. Taking a moment to thank yourself for coming and practicing this evening, for making the time in your day, and to thank each other for sharing this practice. And I'd like to invite you to think about one thing that you hope for this year. And then rubbing your hands together, getting them nice and warm. Cupping the palms of the hands over the eyelids. And just taking a moment to notice how that feels. And a big breath as you start to blink open your eyes and take your hands away from your face. Thank you very much. You all look so cozy in your blankets and jumpers and things. Thank you very much for coming along this evening and for signing up for this term. I will send over the video later this evening, and then you can practice again if you feel like it during the week. But otherwise, I will see you next Monday. Be good, look after yourselves.